Hey everybody, it's Brooke Ray with Drinkin' No Stuff, and I'm here with my friend Jeff Gregory to chat about wine and the wine industry and life in general. How's it going, Jeff?
Fantastic. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and thank you to Il Bracco in Dallas for hosting us down here by Preston. This is a really fine restaurant. You should check out their Italian wine list. So the first thing I want to ask old Jeff here about, since we haven't hung out in a while, is what are you working on right now?
So I recently ended 4-year tenure back in distribution. During that time, I met a partner, a gentleman named Tommy, who had kind of an idea he was working on for a private wine club and storage facility here in Park Cities. And we, met online as a sales lead, promised to, kind of meet and talk about ideas. And that turned into, lunch after breakfast.
And wine.
And wine. And the idea really intrigued me. And he came to feel like, we might be great partners, and we started to discuss working on the project together, and so here we are. So 5570 will actually be right across the street here.
I thought it was near here.
Yeah, Preston and Northwest Highway. It will be about a 9,000 square foot private wine club and storage facility. About half of the square footage will be temperature controlled, humidity controlled private wine storage. So we'll have lockers of various sizes that members will be able to rent and store wine.
Okay.
And we'll also have our own private cellar inside that space. And then the rest of the space is a lounge. So think kind of restaurant bar feel. We'll have some dining available, some appetizers. We'll have a tasting bar where we host winemakers or sales reps or importers. And then a couple of private rooms where we'll host wine dinners, educational tastings, private events, and things like that.
Yeah, so I did creep on the website. I went and looked up 5570, and I checked out the website, and I said, okay, this looks and feels a little different. It feels like a salon in the Art Deco times in Paris is the way it looks inside. It doesn't look like an old, dark, old white dudes with like smoking jackets on sort of a thing. And I was like, I really love this. It almost reminds me of that Glass Dome area in Charles de Gaulle.
Exactly. So the, part of the original concept for Tommy was, to create an environment where a wider audience could be, brought closer to wine and made to feel more comfortable and enjoy and drink and share. We have some wine clubs here in town. Decor-wise, they're definitely a little bit more traditional, a little bit more steakhouse / old school private club feel.
Right.
So lots of dark wood, dark leather chairs, bit of a boys club environment, and not as inviting to younger drinkers, people that are just kind of starting out in wine, and especially less inviting to females. And so Tommy wanted to create an environment that was going to be more inviting for women as well as men, and just, a beautiful space where people could come in, have great tastings, drink some great wine by the glass, something from our cellar, something from their locker, or attend a tasting or a class, meet a winemaker, meet friends. We have a little patio. So really like a fun space where people can gather and share, which is kind of what wine is really meant to be about.
So, which I love that. My whole idea of sharing wine with people, that's what I get excited about. I get excited about telling the stories and exposing them to something new and getting excited about a property or, the terroir somewhere. What I was interested in when I looked at the website for 5570, I thought, okay, when it says private wine cellars and collection and all this, there's still, and I don't mean to call them dog whistle words, but in a way they're still like, these are my snooty words about wine. And so when I looked, of course, the first thing I saw was that there are these, there's a membership level that was like sold out, I noticed, for $10,000. I'm like, oh, good Lord. Because some of these people are, young people especially, are going to go, I don't think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's not only that.
Right. So it is a members club, right? So we have different membership levels. And again, it's meant to be inviting to people at different stages of their wine drinking or collecting career. We do have founding memberships, which did sell out. They're quite popular. And so those members will get, some perks, but we have our reserve member and our social membership level. So those are much more attainable for, us normal people, and really intended to, allow people an opportunity to come and be a part of the community without having to spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah, and what I noticed about it, besides the beautiful colors and the brightness of it, is you are really fostering this idea of, okay, I don't know much about wine, I want to know more, and I can go here with people who do know a lot more, who are wanting to share it with me.
Absolutely.
Even from person to person, not just the staff and whatever you have by the glass, but there might be a person sitting there drinking 20-year-old Bordeaux who's like, oh, are you new to reds? Let me show you this. And that's an opportunity to drink old wine that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Exactly.
And I got news for you. The people that collect that kind of wine, they don't want to sit and drink it alone by themselves. They want to share it with people.
Exactly. So kind of the idea of community, creating an environment where there's lots of sharing and lots of reciprocation. Also some, and there's formal educational seminars, also more casual events where people have an opportunity to learn, and also just kind of the day-to-day interaction with other members who might be big collectors or might be just starting out, and kind of mixing them together in order to get people excited about wine, I think was part of what really excited me about the potential of this concept, and making it more accessible for people.
All right, well, talking about that, two things. We'll start with the first one. Mm-hmm. You said this made you excited because this is what we're excited about, is sharing wine, right? Mm-hmm. What are you, besides 5570, which by the way is in Dallas, so if you're in the Dallas area, you want to look it up, you can find it easily by Googling it. What in the industry right now has got you excited?
So lots. I think the biggest thing in the wine industry that's got me excited right now is not actually a wine, but it's kind of the conversations that are occurring in our business about barriers that have been in place for women, for minorities.
Yes.
It's not the
for haircuts.
Yeah, it's not the easiest, not the easiest business to get into. And I think a lot of those barriers are coming down. So conversations within the Court of Master Sommeliers, for example, surrounding harassment.
Yes, that was a big thing, and I have had personal experience with these things. I've seen it firsthand, and for the denying to go on that was happening was a problem.
Absolutely. And so, I think societally that's something we've been confronting over the past couple of years, which is really encouraging. Lots of long road ahead still, but the conversation is occurring, and it's something that's no longer being hidden in the shadows as much. And I'm also excited about kind of the coattails of other conversations that have come along with that. So diversity and inclusion within the wine space is now something that companies are starting to pay a lot more attention to, which is encouraging.
Right. So you told me a story earlier of you going to do a Burgundy tasting as one of the volunteer sommeliers, and you very well expected to be maybe the only black person there.
Absolutely.
And then you weren't.
Exactly. So I volunteered at the 2022 La Paulée in New York, which is an annual gathering of Burgundy producers in New York, meeting with collectors and hosting a couple of large-scale tastings and a variety of dinners and seminars.
Oh, heaven.
It's a really fun event. And it's all concluded by this grand gala dinner where everybody brings their best and finest bottles to share with other collectors.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's quite the bacchanal. But it's it's an event that I've attended in the past, and I see the sommeliers working the event, and again expected that I might be the only black sommelier volunteering this year. Thankfully, there were quite a few, which shows me that even organizations as small as the Paulée are paying attention and making an effort to be a bit more inclusive.
So in the last 10 years, would you say there has been a significant inroad for black voices and black roles in wine? And I'm not just talking about because I like Snoop and love the fact that he's into wine.
Mm-hmm. So, it is, I'd say in the last 10 years, I've seen the beginnings of a big shift, right? So, in the fine dining space, historically, there have not been a lot of black and brown faces.
No.
Especially in this market, a little bit more common when you move into like a New York.
Yep,
Market,
San Francisco.
Exactly. But, when I, going back to like 2013 when I left the culinary school, I could probably count all of the black sommeliers I knew in the country on two hands.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm happy to say that I know dozens. There are, online communities that are bringing, not only women in the wine business, but also minorities in the wine business together.
Right.
Which is very encouraging. And it's, I think the important part about it is just that it helps to elevate the profile and to maybe signify to that, that kid who's just getting into the restaurant business as a busser, this is kind of how, for our generation, we determined that we wanted to have that path, was to, kind of look up and see, these mentors and these, leaders in our business
right.
that we wanted to, whose footsteps we wanted to follow in. And so, if I can be that to, someone in, a restaurant who's just starting out in their career, and show them that, look, like, if you want to be the wine guy, if you want to be the beverage director, if you want to be a sommelier, if you want to own your own restaurant someday, it's certainly possible for you,
It's funny that you say that, because recently I was told by a young gentleman, I say young gentleman, and he's a grown up completely, but he had worked for me at my wine bar in the past, and he was telling me about an aha moment that he had that turned him on to wine, not just to be into it, but to pursue it as a career. And now he's passed the advanced sommelier test. He has a winery in Walla Walla, Washington called Coquettes. His name's Robert Gomez, and he is pursuing that dream with such beautiful passion, and it makes me so excited. So what was your aha moment?
So this is like the age-old sommelier question, this and the desert.
Oh, the desert wine, yeah.
Wine.
Right.
So, and I actually have a pretty well-defined aha moment, or at least the moment where I realized that I could and would like to have a career in the wine business, and it was at a restaurant in Austin called Mezzaluna.
Oh, I remember that restaurant.
And we were doing Friday staff training, pretty typical. Our sales rep from one of the big distributors came in and brought a very special bottle for us to taste. So this was an Italian restaurant, primarily Italian wine list with a little bit of California peppered in.
Just like here.
Exactly. But big on Italian wines, and he brought in a 1967 Bertani Amarone.
Yes.
For the staff to taste, very special wine. And, I had been learning, kind of teaching myself about Italian wine so I could navigate the wine list better, do better at
pronounce them.
Exactly, pronouncing bottles, selling wine, and went into the staff training on a Friday afternoon, and blew my socks off. So I'd never tasted anything like that before in my entire life.
Right. Old wine, man.
Exactly.
I wish old people were as good as old wine. I'm trying.
An eye-opening experience, and after the staff training was over, I found the sales rep who I had not met. I was not involved in the beverage program anyway.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kind of junior server at that time. Introduced myself to him. His name's Jerome. I still know him. He's still in Austin, I think. Aussie fellow. And asked him what his job was, who he worked for, and how I could get a job like that.
Wow, you went straight for the throat.
Yeah. So he told me that he was our sales rep, told me about the company, and I, wrote it down, and he gave me his business card, and I, at that time you needed a bachelor's degree.
Oh gosh, that was the day, right? Which is so silly to me.
To get a job, which was, a nice, I had already, planned on going back to get my bachelor's, but it was a nice little nudge to finish, to complete that. And I did wind up going on to work for that company, and that's what brought me back to Dallas, where I then later met you.
Yeah. Well, I would say that right now, for me, it's an exciting time for wine in several different ways, more inclusion and things like that. But also, this generation, this new generation of wine drinker, they're not like the ones that we had to cut our teeth on,
Absolutely.
which were we had to be so on the top of every little nook and cranny of knowledge here and there, because they like to catch young people in that and be like, oh, little sommelier, I've got you here, right? This new generation of wine drinker is curious, excited. They want authenticity. They want an experience. Is that what you're finding?
I am. I'm finding the attitude around wine shifting in a big way, right? And wine has always been this, this kind of phenomenon that confers cachet and class, and always kind of had a little bit of nose in the air about it.
Right, exactly.
But I see less and less of that. And I hesitate to say. I'm almost thankful for having come up in that generation, though, because it definitely kept us on our toes and forced us to really learn.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like to not have the answer to any question that I'm asked.
I know, it's almost obsessive, isn't it?
Exactly. So it definitely pushed me to learn, right? And especially as an African-American man, approaching a table as a sommelier, you really need to know your stuff, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Not everybody is going to expect that you should be in that position, or that you are going to be knowledgeable enough to carry the conversation or guide them.
Yep.
And so being able to demonstrate the knowledge and answer those questions was critical for me at that point in my career. And I'm thankful for that, but I'm also thankful for more of the public, especially younger generations of wine drinkers, kind of coming more into our corner of wine appreciation, which is just out of passion and an enjoyment for a great bottle of wine among great friends,
right? And with good stories of beautiful people working hard in their families to make these things for us.
Exactly. And less of a pissing contest and a trivia contest.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you just said the words, the pissing contest.
Exactly.
Sorry for the language, but the truth is that is something he and I have lived through all the time. How many times that one person at the table was going to try to make sure they can nail you.
Exactly.
And you're just like, I'm just trying to serve you wine. Why can't you just enjoy your beverage?
We just want to make you happy.
We just want to make you happy. Why do you have to nail us?
Exactly. So it's refreshing to see the younger, new wine drinkers' attitudes. Kind of shedding that pretension about wine and really just learning to enjoy it for what it is, which is, a critical part of the dinner table, critical part of a good gathering.
Oh, the dinner table, yes.
It's something to be enjoyed among friends, and that makes life more enjoyable. So it's very refreshing. It's very encouraging. It makes working in the business a lot more fun.
It does, doesn't it?
A lot more fun. And those that still want to talk trivia and hectares and bricks and pick dates and get into the minutia. That's fine, but it's also not the most fun way to enjoy wine.
And to be honest, I have kind of backed off on drilling myself on that stuff these days, and I'm more interested in what is the winemaker's thought process. How are they relating to the terroir? What are they culturally trying to preserve and pass on and keep? What does it smell like there? That is so much more important to me than how many hectares they have.
The key word there is understanding wine is this pillar of culture.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Sure, it's a technical product and takes a little bit of technical expertise and some biochemistry to get it from point A to point B. But that's, I don't want to blame it on any particular organization, but I think we kind of got lost in the weeds there for a while with the technicalities of wine.
Yes.
and not emphasizing kind of just the cultural significance of wine.
Well, over academizing it, which is a terrible mispronunciation of that word, but if you make it over academic, you take out parts of it that are art and magic. And I just made a post on this recently where I said, what is art? Well, it's science and it's agriculture, but it's also art and it's also culture. And I feel like there's a little bit of magic. They still can't explain that soil thing, and I know it works.
Exactly. So, I think for a long time it was very much about, when you make something super technical and you make it this intensely academic topic, that helps to make it more exclusionary and keep it just for us, right?
Yep.
And so, for a variety of reasons, I think as a community, as an industry, like we've come to realize that's not the path forward, and not really sustainable into the future. That there's a lot of wine being produced, and we need this to continue to grow as a part of our culture.
Right, or you and I won't have jobs because all of our older clients are going away.
And
I mean,
we don't want wine to continue to. We don't want to struggle to find homes and glasses and mouths.
Yep.
We want to continue to bring more people into it, and so again, nothing wrong with learning about the academia of wine. It's super interesting, and it's a topic that it's an infinite rabbit hole. You can learn about it until
that's the thing right there.
Yeah,
you can never know it all.
Exactly.
I came to terms with that before. I thought I knew everything. There was a time where I thought I knew everything. I'm sure you went through it too. And then we realized, oh my gosh, because like my first wine job, I got because I could pronounce the names of the wines on the list. It was an Italian restaurant, and that's literally how I got it. I wasn't even 21.
Exactly. But, I mean, we just need to embrace the idea that it can easily be enjoyed without all of that detailed knowledge.
Right.
And for a long time, we did a really good job of scaring away a lot of people because they felt that if they didn't know how to pronounce it, if they didn't understand where it came from, or didn't have a sufficient level of knowledge, then they couldn't participate.
Right.
They couldn't play in the sandbox.
The vocabulary. If they didn't have the vocabulary, then they weren't allowed to be there. And that is one of the most elitist things I could ever think of. And I will admit that I went through a time when I had earned my dues with certain certifications that I thought that I needed to set that level too. And I regret that. If I ever told you White Zinfandel wasn't valid, I apologize, because I should be spanked. Absolutely. It was definitely not the way it should be. Well, it's so good to talk to you, Jeff. And you have so many awesome things to say. I'm super excited about 5570. I hope I get a little invite to come check it out sometime.
I will definitely have you for the grand opening.
Oh, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. So 5570 is the venture that Jeff's part of. If you're in the Dallas area and you're looking for a real wine home, and you maybe have a few bottles, they have storage for as little as 6 cases, right? Am I correct?
Absolutely.
So we're not talking you have to have a 4,000 bottle collection here or anything. You need to look them up and check it out. I would also like to say again, thank you to Il Bracco down here on Preston for having us here and allowing us to film and providing us with delicious wine and food. He's drinking Franciacorta Rosé. I mean, come on.
I love it.
We love it, and I appreciate all of y'all. Until next time, it's Brooke Ray with Drinking No Stuff.